Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking with Barbara Boone McGinnis, elder law attorney. She's joining us via Zoom from her offices there in Hendersonville. Take us, McGinnis. Mike had just called in. Mike asked 3 questions, and he said that Tennessee ranks low when it comes to being old and in poor health. And I don't know where the ranking comes from and that kind of thing. Is that something that is common knowledge? Do you question that? I mean, what do you think about what he's asking there?
I can say my perspective is that it really depends on where you're living. Care is local. Here in our community in Sumner County, probably where Davidson County, Williamson County, you have a lot of good care options in a variety of settings. We also are a very rural state, and I know there's probably many counties where there are not those sorts of options, and the resources are quite limited. But in terms of a ranking, I just have to say I'm at a loss at that. I haven't heard of that.
Right.
And if he wants to call us back and tell us his source, that might be new information for us all.
It would really come down to poverty. It would come down to your resources and maybe lack of access to health care in some of these rural areas where hospitals have shut down.
Right. Right.
But it comes down to resources for people.
Right.
Okay, let's go. Ricky is called again, I believe. Hello, Ricky?
Hello.
Go ahead.
I got a couple of questions.
Okay, good.
Adult Protective Services, I don't think too much about that. I've had some, not too favorable things dealing with them, but other than that, if you put your kids, your stuff in your kid's name, they can turn around and sell it.
Yeah, right.
And you can't do nothing about it. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
I think that speaks to what we were saying earlier. I mean, you would hope that wouldn't happen.
Add it to our list.
Add it to your list. You would hope that wouldn't happen and that you would trust, there would be this trust. And when there are problems, that's not the biggest, that they just turn around and sell it out from under the parent. But there are all these other problems that can arise.
Right. There are many problems that can arise. And like I said, even if you have great kids, bad things can happen. But everybody doesn't have great kids. And sometimes, parents can be sort of blind-eyed to their children's shortcomings. Some of the other things that we should probably talk about relates to, well, exactly what kind of assets does a will cover? Everything we own wouldn't necessarily pass by a will, even if we had one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
So assets, you have to think about the type of asset and how do you own them. If you own them jointly with a right of survivorship, then the survivor owns the asset. So the first one that passes away, the survivor would own that asset. That happens a lot with real estate. You might have 2 people own pieces of property, like husband and wife together, and one passes away, the other's going to own the property. And so that doesn't have anything to do with the will. But couples really need to pay attention to that. I've seen a lot of wives unsuspecting where the property is just in the name of the husband and the husband dies without a will. So that could leave a surviving spouse in not a good position.
What would happen there? What would happen there? Because I thought it would automatically go to the wife.
If there wasn't any children, yes. But if there's children, then it becomes a joint asset of the surviving spouse and the children.
Oh, okay.
And when over 50% of families in the United States are blended families now, you may be co-owning property not with your children, but with somebody else's children.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just again, a thoughtfulness, knowing what you're getting into. How is that property titled? Is there a will in place? Does it provide for a life estate? Does it provide for ownership? And all of that. That's really what folks pay the attorney for. You know, you come to the attorney to talk through those what ifs. You leave with a document in hand, but you've paid for the counsel of being able to clarify those scenarios. Mm-hmm. Well, other assets might pass by beneficiary designation, like IRAs, 401ks, life insurance policies, and you need to make sure those beneficiaries are current. That's as important a part of your estate plan as anything else I've talked about, because the financial institution that manages those accounts, the retirement accounts and the life insurance policies, they're obligated to make payable then to that beneficiary. So even if that's an ex-spouse.
Right. That's, yes, and that happens. That
it does. And it is not funny at all when somebody finds out that an ex-spouse is still named as the primary beneficiary.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back for one final segment here. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.